Hello intellectual wanderers and fellow aspirants. Welcome to our YouTube channel that is UPSC Geek by NRG. Today in this lecture number 20 of Thomas Hobbes series, we are going to unravel the beautiful tapestry of Hobbes on liberty and his perspective on law. In the previous lecture, we have already done with his theory of social contract, which is a content of his magnum opus, that is Leviathan, where we have seen the causes, that was his perspective on human nature. Then we have seen what leads to state of nature, which ultimately results into the social contract, that is the establishment of an absolute power, a sovereign power which knows no foundation or limitation, right? And hence the spiritual lords, that are church, and temporal lords like feudals, must bow down before the sovereign lords. We have seen the various criticism. We have also seen the features of contract and etc., right? So we are already done with the two important pillars, that is his concept of on sovereignty and his concept of social contract. Now we are basically dealing with the various processes that are part of social contract. So first we are looking into Hobbes on liberty, right? Because he is talking about an absolute state, a sovereign state, just so that the state of nature can be subsided, or a state of anarchy can be removed. And hence what shall be his perspective on liberty, to what extent the citizens will have the liberty, right? Because we have already seen one of the most profound statement which was propounded by Hobbes, that if everyone agrees to relinquish their rights and liberties to a particular commonwealth, to a particular sovereign, then in that case I will also relinquish mine, right? So we have seen this statement. So now let's see his perspective on liberty. Okay, so here Hobbes is basically propounding the idea that liberty is where the law is silent. Okay, law is silent. What does this mean, that where law is silent? So let's see what does this mean. Okay, so Hobbes does not prefer liberty. Here he is not preferring liberty. Why? Because in the previous lecture we have already seen that for Hobbes the priority or the primacy of life is more important than the primacy of liberty, right? So let's see in further description. According to him, extreme liberty results into the state of anarchy. Okay, what it leads into? It leads into state of anarchy, right? In the state of anarchy, there is no guarantee of even right to life. Why? Why is he saying that there is no guarantee to even right to life? Because in the state of anarchy there is threat to each and everyone's life, because there is not a sovereign authority to protect one's life, right? And hence in the state of anarchy there is no guarantee to the right to life. For Hobbes, security is the supreme value, more important than liberty. Why? Because he is always giving more primacy to the life than the liberty. Okay, in the process of contract, men transfers all of their rights. Okay, in the process of contract, while signing the contract, while engaging in mutual agreement, men are transferring all of their rights except right to life. Except right to life. Why? Because right to life is absolute right to an individual, which is provided by the God and not the state, and hence the state has only the obligation to protect one's life and not takes one life, and hence men are transferring all of their rights to the sovereign except their right to self-preservation or right to life. The similar process can also be seen in our constitution, that we have given article 21, that is right to life utmost priority, utmost importance, right? So that is what the relevance of Hobbes is even to this day. Since man has transferred all of his rights, the authority of state is absolute. Why? Right? So here the authority of the state is absolute. Why? Because men are transferring all of their rights to whom? To the sovereign state. And hence, while they are transferring their all of the rights, they are coming on the equal pedestal because they are relinquishing their liberty, they are relinquishing their powers to a Leviathan, to a sovereign state. And hence the state is becoming all more absolute, all more powerful than the people. Right? When authority of state is absolute, man has no freedom to act according to his choice, right? Because man has no liberty or no rights to act according to choice, because man has to act on the basis of degree, on the basis of law, right, which was formulated by a sovereign Leviathan, right? Hence man will not be having a liberty, and that's why Hobbes is propounding the statement that liberty is where the law is silent. Man will only have the liberty, man will only have the liberty where there is no law, right? Man is under the compulsion to act, man is under the compulsion to act according to the law. Man will be punished in the case he does not act according to law. When man does not follow the law of sovereign, it means he asserts as if he is sovereign, right? So what is the value here? What is the idea here? Basically the decree or the law is coming with a punishment, right? Punishment, so that the authority of state cannot be challenged, right? So this is the basic idea why there is a covenant with a sword, because a covenant without sword is nothing but a word, right? And hence Hobbes is propounding the idea that the law must have a notion of principle of punishment with it, because if it does not, then there are chances that other center of power or other authority can challenge the authority of the state, which will again lead to the state of anarchy, right? Anarchy. And this is what Hobbes is strongly against it, right? So this is the basic idea. Let's look at it in more detail. Okay, so in particular territory there cannot be more than one sovereign, right? And hence he is propounding the idea that covenant must come with a sword. Man will follow law so long it appears to him useful. Okay, man will only follow the law so long as it appears helpful to him. Man will be tempted to evade law when it appears more useful. Okay, if something will appear more useful to him, man will always get tempted to evade law. If one person goes unpunished, other will also follow it, right? If somebody just by or just through temptation is somebody violating the law, the others will also tend to follow him because there is no punishment. It will lead to the state of what? Anarchy. Again, without a provision of punishment, it will again lead to the state of anarchy. Life of all cannot be brought back into the state of anarchy because of the mischief of few persons, right? Why they are engaging in mischiefs? Because there is no provision of punishment, right? That's why he is propounding the idea that how important a provision of punishment is, right? Man has only two options, either to live in the state of absolute authority or absolute anarchy. Thus the power of sovereign is absolute. Man has no freedom to act according to his own wishes. Okay, so basically in the conditions of contract, Hobbes is trying to give only two conditions: either you choose absolute authority or absolute anarchy. We have seen in his methodology how men are pleasure seekers, how men chase power after power, which ceases only with his death. right? And hence in no case they will want to go back to the state of absolute anarchy. Why? Because there is always imminent threat to their life. There is no protection to their life and property, and hence men will always choose absolute authority over absolute anarchy. Okay, and hence the power of sovereign is absolute. Man has no freedom to act according to his own wishes. Okay, man has no authority to act on his own wishes. He has freedom to act according to his own wishes only where the law is silent. Hence man has liberty. Man has liberty where law is silent, right? So that is the basic idea behind his concept of liberty. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, so let's do a critical evaluation. Okay, let's do a critical evaluation. The statement is not about liberty rather than a justification of absolute authority of state and state's power to punish those who do not follow the law. Okay, so his perspective of ethics, his perspective on liberty is not of a liberty. It is a more of a justification for an absolute authority. Okay, it is justification for absolute authority. Why? Again, it is driven by his emotion of fear, right? Fear for his life. He is more fearful about his life, and hence it is more justification of absolute authority than the liberty. Again, Professor Vaughan criticizes Hobbes that he gives only two choices to his individual, that is either slavery, absolute slavery, or absolute anarchy, right? Just in previous slide we have seen either you follow the sovereign authority or else you slide into the state of anarchy where there is no guarantee of life, where there is no guarantee of liberty, right? Because one will always be in the loop of fear, constant fear that his life can be taken anytime, and hence it is more a justification for sovereign authority than the liberty itself, right? So this is a critical evaluation is when it comes to his perspective on liberty. So let's see how is he defining what is liberty according to Hobbes. What does it mean? So basically Hobbes is giving two notions of liberty. The first is negative liberty. What is negative liberty? Negative liberty is basically absence of state. Okay, and this is basically the original concept of liberty. And when it is practical, when it will be applicable, it is basically more viable in the state of nature, right? Where there is no state to regulate, to monitor, right? And that is the original concept of liberty, that is negative liberty, where men are only driven by their sense of nature or instinct, right? So this is the basic idea about negative liberty. Let's say what is the positive liberty, right? So the concept came with the welfare state. The concept of positive liberty came with the welfare state. It denotes the capacity building functions. Okay, here the capacity building functions by the state. Example, Amartya Sen defines development as the freedom. Why development as the freedom? Because with development there comes freedom. What? Freedom from poverty, right? Freedom from insecurity, freedom from various what? Various institutions like patriarchy and etc. Right? That is why the Amartya Sen's also considered development as a freedom, and that is what a positive liberty is all about. It is a basically a idea of welfareism, where the state, where there is an institution or sovereign state which comes with a provision of welfare, so that the people can be freed from the various shackles of the societies, right? Which is similar to the Amartya Sen notion of development. So this is the basically two forms of liberty which Hobbes is trying to speak of, right? So let's see how does Hobbes propounding the idea of liberty. Okay, so liberty signifies properly the absence of opposition in external impediments to the motion. Okay, so here liberty signifies properly the absence of opposition in the external impediments to the motion. Okay, what does this particular statement means? Okay, where there is opposition in the external impediment to motion, right? So he is giving an analogy here, which basically means that Hobbes is basically providing justification for the absolute authority of the state that we have already seen. Okay, he has preference for security over liberty. According to him, man has no liberty where state has made laws. Liberty is where law is silent. Okay, liberty is where law is silent, and hence Hobbes is not only one of the greatest philosopher in politics, he is also regarded as one of the greatest authors in English literature, right? So basically the idea here is that just to prove his notion, or just to highlight or express his idea of liberty, he is giving an analogy here. Okay, analogy of liberty, that liberty is absence of opposition in the external impediment to motion. Okay, we will see what does this mean in later slides, but now understand why does he using such kind of examples, such kind of analogies to highlight or to talk about his concept of liberty, right? So we have to understand his background, that the Hobbes is not only one of the greatest political philosopher, but he is also one of the greatest authors in English literature, and hence he will come up with multiple metaphors and etc. Okay, to prove his or to talk about his concepts, to make concepts sound more attractive to the people. Okay, hence at times it becomes complicated also to understand Hobbes' idea, what he actually means. He adds further complication when he incorporates many concepts of natural sciences. Okay, we have seen how does he incorporated the idea of mechanics in his methodology. Okay, we have seen his idea of physics in his methodology, right? We have seen his particular ideas, and thus it is saying that it becomes sometimes complicated to understand through the interplay of various streams and various disciplines like physics, like science, right? But again, we have to understand the background of Hobbes, right? Background, from where does he coming? He is basically a early modern era political thinker during the time of Renaissance, right? During the time of age of science, where there was more acceptance when something was coming from the science than a mere hermeneutics. Okay, so Hobbes has tried to explain the proper meaning of liberty by differentiating liberty and capacity. Okay, again, how is he explaining his concept of liberty? By differentiating between the two concepts, that is liberty and capacity. Okay, we will see what does he actually means when he talks about liberty and capacity. He explains his position on the basis of two examples. Okay, let's see how does he differentiating between his concepts of liberty and capacity. Okay, he is saying that if there is a man, okay, he has freedom to walk, right? He has freedom to walk, but he cannot walk. Why? Because of his handicap, he cannot walk. Then we cannot say that he don't have or he doesn't have freedom or liberty, right? We can say that the man lacks capacity. He basically lacks capacity, right? So this is the idea what he is trying to give, that if man has the freedom to walk but he cannot walk, that doesn't mean that there is no freedom. It only means that he doesn't have a capacity to walk. And hence he is expliciting to the readers or to the people that the idea between freedom and capacity should not be confused. But why is he giving this idea? We have to understand this. Okay, why is he differentiating between this idea? Now again, go back to the idea of his state of nature, right, where people had every independent and freedom to do whatever they wanted to do, but they could not enjoy their freedom or liberty. Why? Because of their fear. Because of their fear or threat that anytime they can be succumbed to death or their life can be taken away, right? And hence he is saying that just because one has the freedom to do whatever he does and could not do, that doesn't mean there is no freedom. He only lacks capacity, and which is pertinent in the state of nature. In spite having all the liberties of the world in the state of nature, the man cannot enjoy their pleasures. Why? Just because of the imminent fear, imminent threat to their life, to their properties. And hence he will introduce the idea of state. Okay, and hence he is introducing this idea of sovereign state through this analogy, where he gives the example of what? Where he gives the example of liquid, okay, closed in the bottle, right? He is giving an example of liquid which is closed in a bottle, right? So liquid has capacity to flow. Liquid usually have a capacity to flow. If we will keep liquid in like any normal state, right, it will flow down, right, but unable to flow because walls of the bottle act as impediment to the motion of liquid, right? So here there is a liquid, right, there is a liquid here which has the ability to flow. It can flow, right, but it could not flow. Why? Because there is an impediment. The wall of the bottle is posing impediment to the flow of the liquid, right? It is impediment, and hence there is a force from the liquid to flow outside, but this wall is somewhere exerting counter force so that it can hinder the flow of liquid, right? So it is force on the wall by liquid. This is the force by liquid on the wall, and this is the counter force by the wall on the liquid, right? What does this leading to? Using the concept of mechanics, again, as I have said, that he has used the interplay of various streams, various sciences, to make his concept sound more acceptable to the people, right? So again, he is using the concept of mechanics here. He shows that wall is opposing the movement of liquid. In turn, the liquid is putting pressure on the wall. In case there is no wall, there is no such pressure, right? Thus liberty in proper sense is the absence of opposition in external impediment to the motion. This is how he is explaining the concept of liberty, that liberty is basically the absence of this external wall which is somewhere inhibiting the flow, the natural flow of liquid. Okay, if we remove this particular wall of the bottle, the natural capacity of the liquid to flow will be applied, will come true, and hence liquid will be in its true state. But since there is a wall here which is exerting pressure on the liquid is just not being able to come to its true nature, that is flow. Okay, and hence if this wall will be removed, then it will be true liberty. This is what Hobbes is trying to say, right? The wall of the bottle can be equated with the law made by the state. Okay, and hence when the law exists, man has no option but to act according to the law. Okay, so again, what will be his notion? Okay, what is he trying to mean here? So basically he is trying to equate this particular wall with the law, that this particular wall is similar to the law made by the state, right? Here laws somewhere restrict the freedom of the people. Why? Because the state want to make sure that the freedom will bring with it the sense of passion. Okay, the freedom will come with a passion, where people will again slide back to the state of nature, right? This is what Hobbes is trying to say, that there must be a sovereign law which will regulate the citizen as per the decree, okay, as per the contract. And here man has no option but to act according to the law. Why? Because they are under the confinement of contract. Okay, this bottle is nothing but a contract which men they themselves have made, just to ensure that there is no state of anarchy, right? So this is the basic idea behind his concept of liberty. He is saying that in the form of the wall of the bottle which exerts force on the liquid, so that to restrict the free flow of the liquid, to ensure that people do not fall back to the state of nature, state of passion, and pose threat to each other's life. There should be a wall in the form of the law made by the state to regulate, to control, to monitor the freedom, the liberty of people. And men have no choice but to act according to the what? According to the law. Okay, so this is the idea on liberty when it comes to Hobbes. Okay, so now let's see what does Hobbes has to say about the law, right? So we are seeing the processes. Basically, just to give you a brief summary, we have seen his concept of liberty, we are seeing his concept on law, how law will be when it comes to a state of Leviathan, an absolute authority or absolute sovereign state. How will be the law, okay, how it will be in Leviathan, right? So covenant without swords are nothing but words and no strength to secure men at all. Okay, so covenant, what is covenant? Covenant is basically agreement or law, constitution. Okay, so here Hobbes is trying to say that covenant without sword. What is sword? A metaphor for punishment. Okay, so covenant without sword are nothing but words and have no strength to secure men at all. So how the law will be in Leviathan? It will be with punishment, right? The given statement is justification of power or punishment enjoyed by sovereign. Okay, it means that law is useless if it does not come with the power of punishment. Okay, in Western world there are two prominent traditions of law. Okay, usually there are two kind of law in the Western world, which is a kind of continuing even today. There is a natural law, okay, which is based on reason or instinct, which, like, the main advocate of natural law were Plato, Aristotle, and the ancient traditionalists. Okay, and the second is positive law. So what is positive law? A law which is made by the state, right? A law which is made by the state is positive law. So here Hobbes will support the idea of positive law. Why? For the welfare of the people. Why? For the upliftment of the people from the state of nature, from the state of anarchy. So Hobbes will basically support the positive law, and his precedents were like Plato, Aristotle, and etc. They were basically belonged to the natural law or the reason, right? And hence Hobbes will support the positive law. So let's see how will he support the positive law. So Hobbes does not recognize natural law as law. Why? Because natural law is also law. But why is Hobbes not recognizing natural law? He suggests that natural law has two weaknesses. Okay, he suggests that natural law has two weaknesses. It lacks certainty, right? What certainty? It may vary from person to person. Because see, in natural law, every individual, right? Every individual is driven by their instinct, right? And since every individual is driven by their instinct, the nature of reason or the instinct can vary from person to person. I may have my different instinct or reason, someone else can have different reason or instinct, and hence their instinct or reason can vary from person to person, and hence it lacks certainty. There will be no certainty, there will no predictability that everyone will work or follow in so and so manner, right? And hence natural law somewhere lacks what? Certainty. It fails to achieve purpose of law. What is purpose of law? The purpose of law is basically establishment of order and security, right? So why it fails to achieve the purpose of law? Why? Let's see. Okay, he gives the example of state of nature. Again, he is giving the example of state of nature. In the state of nature there was no state. Okay, in the state of nature there was no state. In state of nature natural law existed. Okay, in the state of nature natural law existed, where men were mainly driven by their reason, by their passion. However, natural law was not sufficient to establish order. That is why state of nature was state of war. Natural law is a product of reason. It expects man to be reasonable. In man, reason is dominated by passion, right? Though men have a sense of reason in them, but the sense of passion dominates over the sense of reason, and hence the state of nature becomes state of war, of all against all, where people start chasing their pleasures, right? And hence it fails to achieve the purpose of law, which is the establishment of order and security. Because we have seen again in his state of nature, his hypothetical imaginary situation, how men were insecure about their life, their property. It was the life in the state of nature was short, brutish, poor, and nasty. It was chaotic, right? And hence, because of these two main reasons, that it lacks certainty and it fails to achieve purpose of the law, that is establishment of order and security, he does not recognize the natural law, and hence he will ultimately talk about positive law. And this is what he is talking about, that there should be a sovereign state, right? Man does not have reason but only limited reason. Further, he is talking about why it fails to establish order, right? So man does not have reason but only limited reason, the reason which is just enough to help man in getting things which give him pleasure. Okay, so basically the reason are limited by only pleasure. He does not have enough reason to guide whether men should aspire for pleasure or not. Though everyone are driven by pleasure, we all have a sense of pleasure within us and reason as well, right? But our reason cannot distinct between to what extent we should pursue our pleasure, where to stop the pursuance of our pleasure, because pleasure or the pursuit of pleasure is never ending loop. It only ceases with one's death, right? And hence, according to Hobbes, men's reason somewhere fails to constrain one's passion, and hence he is saying that the reason is never sufficient to establish order, right? Because reason is not constraining the sense of passion in man. According to Hobbes, there can be peace in the state of nature if man acts with reason, but the dilemma of life that man is controlled by passion. Okay, it is a dilemma of life that man is controlled by passion. Though we have both reason and passions, but it is a dilemma of life that we are controlled by our passion. Just take an analogy of chess here. Though chess is a game of chess, but it is mainly controlled by the what? Though chess is a game of king, but it is mainly controlled by whom? The pawns, the queen, right? So this is what the dilemma of life is. Though men have both reason and passion, but it is mainly controlled by passions. It is mainly dominated by passions. Hence, he suggests that natural law is not in proper sense. Okay, it is better to use the term articles of peace. Okay, natural law is basically the articles of peace, the articles of pleasure, or counsels of prudence, right? Only positive law can establish peace, right? What is positive law? A law made by the state for the welfare of the people. Only that can establish the peace. Why? Why positive law? Why positive law can establish peace? Why? Because here the security of the weak can also be ensured, right? It will not be a power chasing or zero sum game where the weak will, in order to chase power, they will end up killing the more powerful, and they will end up killing the more powerful than them, and hence it becomes zero sum game. But in case of positive law, where there will be a state to regulate the state, even the weak can be ensured a better life, a secured life, and hence they will never end up chasing power, right? That's why in contract, Hobbes propounded the idea to bring or to make everyone equal, right? And there is only one sovereign state called as Leviathan, right? So this is the idea why Hobbes is recognizing positive state than the negative one. So only positive law can establish peace. It defines and it comes with the power of punishment. Okay, positive law is also coming with the power of punishment. Why? So as to discipline the citizens. If there is no fear of punishment, men will not obey the law. Thus fear is the basis of authority. Very true, right? Fear is the basis of authority. Why do we, being a human being, obey anyone or obey to the authority? Just because of the fear. Fear of what? Fear of punishment. So Hobbes is basically propounding the idea that there should be a fear which makes men obliged to the authority. And how can we inculcate a sense of fear in men? Through provision of punishment. Okay, so that men will continue obliging to the authority or obeying to the authority. Okay, if we look at the state of international politics, just for example, okay, example here. If we look at the state of international politics, it is a state of anarchy. Okay, why state of international politics is a state of anarchy? Where power is a means and power is an end. Right? Why international politics is a state of anarchy where power is a means and also power is an end? So international law is weak law. This is one of the reason why the international politics is a state of anarchy. International law is a weak law. What international law? What kind of international law? So basically the law of multilateral universal organizations like UN, right? Most of the time it is seen that people were violating the norms of UN, right? And hence international law is a weak law. Though United Nations propound the idea of peace, non-violence, and no war, but still we see countries engage in war. Why? Just because the law or the international law is a weak law. There is a lack of provision of punishment or sense of fear in the state. Okay, it is voluntary in nature, right? So only the signatory countries to the UN are obliged to follow the law, and the people who are out of the signatory countries, they are not obliged to follow the law. It lacks power of enforcement. It lacks the power of punishment, right? Again comes back, it boils down to Hobbes' idea that fear is something which make men obliged to the authority. And if there is no power of enforcement or no punishment, then why will anyone oblige to any authority? Why will they follow it? And hence the state of international politics is a state of anarchy. Hobbes suggests that the law without fear of punishment is not law in proper sense. Why? Because it do not successfully inculcate the sense of fear. In the state of nature, there was natural law. However, natural law was insufficient to establish order, right? That we have seen. That how the sense of passion dominates over the sense of reason, which completely neglects the peace and order in the state of nature. Hence the state of nature was nasty, poor, brutish and short. Natural law depends on the reason of man. Okay, we are seeing it. Natural law depends on the reason of man, and if man follows natural law, there will be peace. But the dilemma of life is that the reason of man gets dominated by the passion of man, right? However, the dilemma is that man has limited reason and his passion dominate over his reason. Hence it suggests that it is better to call natural law as articles of peace or counsels of prudence, right? So this can be a beautiful example which can be quoted when it comes to the Hobbes law. Okay, Hobbes perspective on law, that a covenant without sword is nothing but a covenant without sword is nothing but a word. Let's say if this statement is asked in the exam, comment, right, 15 marks. So you just have to give his idea on law, and you can use this how international politics is a state of anarchy where there is no power of enforcement or punishment, which is not making sure or ensuring the obligation of the state, and they are continuously violating the norms and the laws of the international body like UN, right? So this is how it can be attempted to make answer more holistic and beautiful, right? So according to him, law in proper sense is command of sovereign. Okay, so we are again continuing his idea of law. So law in proper sense is command of sovereign. Okay, not only the law made by the state is definite, it also comes with the fear of punishment. It is not only the command of sovereign, it is not only definite, but it also should come with the fear of punishment. Okay, if fear of punishment is not there, man will not obey the law. This is the basic idea. Okay, and hence, and since Hobbes is a English author using a lot of metaphors and all, he will keep on reiterating the same things by using different examples, analogies, different terms, terminologies, and etc., right? But the basic idea is same, that a covenant without sword is nothing but a word, and hence covenant with also come with a fear of punishment, because if it does not, then man will not oblige or obey the law, right? Hence it suggests that covenant without sword are nothing but words. Hobbes' view is quite acceptable when we compare his situation to the situation in domestic sphere with that of international sphere. Okay, like when we see the present relevance of Hobbes' idea, it is more relevant in domestic politics, right? But in case of international politics, it is very less likely that there will be a sovereign state like Leviathan when it comes to international politics, whose law will be obliged or obeyed by the entire countries, right? If there will be any institution like UN, it will also be a group or collaboration of few countries, where again the strong powers will start dominating the weaker ones, which is again a part of natural law, that is big fish eating a smaller ones. Again, it will lead to a power conflict, a power tussle, right? And hence his idea about law is more pertinent to domestic spheres than in the case of international spheres. Okay, international law lacks power of enforcement, and hence international politics continues to be the struggle for power, as I've already said you, right? Because of lack of enforcement, because of lack of punishment, the international politics will always be prone to a struggle for power, right? The one we are seeing. And hence we are done with today's lecture, guys. Try attempting these 3 very important questions, right? Explain the Hobbes theory of social contract, right? Just by seeing the previous lecture, you will be able to answer this question very holistically. Comment, Hobbes' idea of liberty is more negative than positive. Okay, we have just seen how the negative liberty talks about the state of nature where there is no external restriction, right? But the state of nature. But positive liberty is the welfareism, right? Or there is a law which ensures the liberty of people, right? There is a state or law. And hence the third question is, Hobbes put citizens into the dilemma of anarchy and slavery. Either you go into anarchy by not obliging to the social contract, or you follow to the or you become slave to the sovereign power, that is Leviathan, right? So try answering these three questions and responding to the and try answering the questions, try sending your answers to the mail, that is namanji910@gmail.com. So with this we are done with today, people. I am hoping that you guys are enjoying the lecture. We are left just with one more lecture when it comes to Hobbes. Today we will be doing a critical assessment of Hobbes and his various theories, and with that we will be finishing Hobbes, right? So that's it for today. Make sure to show your love by subscribing to the channel, that is UPSC Geek by NRG, and also like the video. If you have any question, any feedback, any thought, try put that in the comment section. I will give them a read and also come back with a valuable response. Okay, with this let's end today's class and see you tomorrow. Thank you.